My assistant clearly forgot to mention my standards. Claire Whitmore said it quietly, but not quietly enough. At the neighboring table, a man lowered his wine glass. A woman glanced toward Ethan Miller's faded navy jacket, then quickly looked away. Ethan heard every word. He simply folded his hands beside the untouched water glass and met Claire's eyes without anger. She had arrived 12 minutes late to Bellamy's, one of Chicago's most expensive downtown restaurants, wearing a charcoal business suit that probably cost more than Ethan's 12-year-old pickup. At 38, Claire was the CEO of Whitmore Dynamics, a technology company whose name appeared on buildings Ethan passed every morning on his way to repair heating systems and broken electrical panels. Tonight, however, she was supposed to be simply Claire, the woman his co-worker's wife had insisted he meet on a blind date. Ethan had almost canceled. Dating had felt selfish since his wife died 4 years earlier. His 8-year-old daughter, Lily, had finally convinced him otherwise. "You're allowed to smile with somebody besides me, Dad," she had told him. So Ethan had ironed his best shirt, polished his old shoes, and driven 11 miles downtown with $47 tucked carefully inside his wallet. Claire looked at his sleeves, his weathered hands, then at the inexpensive watch on his wrist. "So you do maintenance?" she asked. "Commercial repair," Ethan replied. "Electrical, HVAC, whatever keeps a building running." "I see." 2 words. Somehow they sounded like a verdict. "And you came here in that pickup outside?" "The silver Ford. The one with the rust near the rear bumper?" Ethan smiled faintly. "That would be mine." Claire leaned back. The restaurant hummed around them with soft piano music, silverware touching porcelain, and conversations shaped by people accustomed to never checking prices. Ethan seemed misplaced in that room, but he did not appear ashamed. That unsettled Claire more than embarrassment would have. "I should probably be transparent," she said. "My life moves quickly. International meetings, investors, travel. I need someone who can keep up." Ethan nodded. "That sounds reasonable. And financial compatibility matters. Also reasonable." Claire studied him. "You're not offended? Would it change anything?" Most men would defend themselves. Ethan glanced briefly at the empty chair beside their table before returning his gaze to her. "I stopped defending my pride a long time ago." For the first time, Claire hesitated. There was no bitterness in his voice, only something quiet and settled, like a man who had already learned which battles mattered. "Then what do you defend?" she asked. Ethan's expression softened. His eyes moved once more toward that empty chair. "My daughter." Claire's gaze followed his. "You have a child?" "Lily, 8 years old." Claire's posture changed almost imperceptibly. The dating profile had mentioned single father, but she had skimmed past it between conference calls. "That complicates things," she said. Ethan looked at her for a long second. Sometimes the things that complicate your life are the things that give it meaning. His phone vibrated once inside his jacket. He didn't reach for it immediately. Claire noticed his face change anyway. Not fear, concern. Ethan finally checked the screen, and the quiet dignity in his eyes gave way to the unmistakable attention of a father whose entire world had just called his name. The message contained only S, : writing variant equals document ID equals 61428, title equals part 2. Ethan read the message twice, and Claire noticed the change in him immediately. "Problem?" she asked. "Maybe." He typed quickly. "Are you safe?" Lily answered almost at once. "Yes. Mrs. Parker's car won't start. She says she can't drive me home." Ethan exhaled softly. Mrs. Parker lived barely 3 miles from Bellamy's, but Lily was supposed to remain there until 10. He checked the time. 7:46 p.m. Everything okay? Claire asked again, though her voice carried more impatience than concern. "My daughter's babysitter is having car trouble. Can't she call a rideshare?" Ethan looked up. "She's 71. Claire lifted one shoulder. 71-year-olds have phones. Ethan slipped his phone back into his jacket. "She also has Lily. That makes it my responsibility." A server approached with menus, and Claire ordered sparkling water without opening hers. Ethan asked for regular coffee. When the server left, Claire studied him as though he were an unexpected line item in a quarterly report. "This is what I meant," she said. About what? Compatibility. My schedule doesn't stop because someone's car won't start. Mine does when my daughter needs me. Exactly. 3 quick words, 3 quiet judgments. Ethan didn't argue. Outside the tall windows, headlights moved across wet Chicago pavement, and the low piano melody drifted beneath the restaurant's polished conversations. Claire tapped one manicured finger against the table. What do you actually want from dating, Ethan? Someone kind? Claire almost laughed. That's it. It covers more ground than people think. No ambition, education, income, social circle. Those things tell me how somebody lives, not who they are. Claire's mouth tightened. She had spent 15 years building a company from a struggling startup into an enterprise employing thousands. She was accustomed to rooms changing when she entered them. Ethan seemed completely unimpressed, and somehow that felt more insulting than admiration would have. You know what I think? She said. I think people romanticize struggle when they've never escaped it. Ethan remained still. Maybe. Money matters. Of course it does. Then why pretend otherwise? I don't. He wrapped both hands around his coffee when it arrived. I just don't confuse a paycheck with character. Claire leaned forward. That sounds convenient coming from someone who repairs other people's buildings. The sentence landed harder than she intended. Ethan's eyes lowered briefly toward his cup. At the next table, the woman who had noticed them earlier stopped speaking. Claire realized she had been overheard, but pride kept her from retreating. You asked, she said. Ethan nodded once. I did. And you're still not going to defend yourself? Against what? Being judged. A faint sadness crossed his face. Claire, being poor has never embarrassed me. Failing my daughter would. Silence settled between them. Claire looked away first. Ethan's phone vibrated. Again. This time he answered immediately. Hey, sweetheart. Lily's small voice was faint through the speaker. Daddy, Mrs. Parker called her son, but he's 40 minutes away. Can I come to you instead? Ethan glanced toward Claire. Where are you now? Still at Mrs. Parker's. She said we could take a cab if you say yes. Ethan hesitated. Claire could have offered to end the date. Instead, she said, seriously? Ethan's expression cooled. She's 8, and this is supposed to be a date. You're right. Ethan reached for his wallet. Which means I know exactly which one of us needs me more. Claire stared as he placed cash beside his coffee. Then Lily's voice came through the phone again, innocent and excited. Daddy, is that the lady from the picture? The one you said you hoped I might get to meet someday. For the first time that evening, Claire Whitmore had absolutely, ... writing variant equals document ID equals 7315 for title equals part 3. Claire's eyes stayed on Ethan's phone as if those innocent words had exposed something she was not prepared to examine. Ethan stepped away from the table. Sweetheart, stay with Mrs. Parker. I'll come get you. But Daddy, you said tonight was important. You're more important. I know, Lily said softly. But maybe your date is important too. Ethan closed his eyes for half a second. We'll talk when I get there. He ended the call and reached for his jacket. Claire watched him. You showed her my picture? Mrs. Parker asked who I was meeting. Lily was standing beside me. And you told your daughter you hoped she might meet me? Ethan looked toward the empty chair. Eventually, if tonight went well. Claire gave a small, incredulous laugh. That seems premature. Maybe. You barely know me. That was the point of tonight. Then why involve a child at all? Ethan's face remained calm. I didn't involve her. I gave her hope. Something in Claire's expression hardened. Hope is expensive. Only when people make promises they don't intend to keep. The piano shifted into a slower melody. Rain traced thin silver lines down the restaurant windows, while conversations murmured beneath the warm amber lights. Claire glanced around, at a world she understood perfectly. Tailored jackets, reservation lists, discreet service, expensive watches. Everything had a place. Everything had a value. Ethan did not fit neatly anywhere inside it. Do you know what my last relationship ended over? She asked suddenly. Ethan stopped putting on his jacket. No, he wanted me to choose him over my company. Did you? Obviously not. Then you made your choice. Claire frowned. You say that like it's simple. Choices usually are. Consequences aren't. She stared at him. You really think raising a child and running a corporation are comparable? No good. I think Lily is more important. Claire's eyebrows lifted. To you. Exactly. He said it without apology. Claire leaned back, studying him with renewed irritation. My company supports 4,000 employees. Families depend on decisions I make. I negotiate contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I can't simply leave a meeting because someone needs reassurance. Then don't. You make ambition sound selfish. I never said that. You implied it. Ethan shook his head. Claire, I'm not competing with you. That stopped her. I don't need to prove my life is harder or more meaningful. You built something important. I respect that, but I'm building something too. What? Ethan looked down at the faint grease embedded near one thumbnail, despite how carefully he had scrubbed before coming. A child that my daughter won't have to recover from. Claire said nothing. Ethan continued quietly. Lily lost her mother when she was 4. For almost a year, she slept with the hallway light on because she thought if the house went dark, somebody else might disappear. I had a promotion offered in Milwaukee. Better salary, better benefits. I turned it down because it meant traveling 3 weeks every month. Claire's expression shifted. You gave up a promotion? I chose my daughter. Those aren't necessarily the same thing. Sometimes they are. Ethan picked up his wallet, but Claire noticed something slip from inside and land beside his chair. A small folded piece of pink construction paper. You dropped something. Ethan bent to retrieve it, but Claire reached it first. On the front, written in uneven purple marker, were 3 words, for Dad's date. Ethan gently took it from her. Lily made that. This afternoon. What is it? He hesitated, then unfolded it. Inside was a childish drawing of Ethan at a restaurant table with a woman in a gray suit and an empty third chair between them. Above that chair, Lily had drawn a bright yellow heart. Beneath it, she had written, maybe someday there will be 3. Claire's face went completely still. She drew me. She drew the possibility of you. Ethan folded the paper carefully. There's a difference. Before Claire could answer, his phone lit up again. A new message from Mrs. Parker appeared on the screen. Plans changed. Lily and I found a ride. We're 5 minutes from Bell, : writing variant equals document, ID equals 842661, title equals part 4. Ethan stared at the message for a moment, then slipped his phone into his pocket. 5 minutes, he said. Claire's eyes moved toward the restaurant entrance. So she's coming here? Only because Mrs. Parker found a ride downtown. I'll meet them outside and take Lily home. Claire glanced at the folded drawing in Ethan's hand. You don't have to leave immediately. Ethan looked at her, surprised. A minute ago, you seemed pretty certain this wasn't working. Claire reached for her water. I'm still certain we live very different lives. That was never in question. And you're comfortable with that? I'm comfortable with who I am. Claire gave a restrained smile. That must be convenient. Ethan slowly put the drawing inside his wallet. Claire, I came here because I thought 2 strangers might have dinner and learn something about each other. I didn't come here to audition for your approval. The words were quiet, but they carried. At the neighboring table, silverware stopped for half a second. Claire's cheeks warmed. You think I'm judging you? Ethan held her gaze. You commented on my truck, my job, my income, and whether my daughter complicates my life. Those are practical considerations. Maybe, but respect is practical too. Claire's jaw tightened. You have no idea what it took for me to build my life. You're right. Ethan nodded, and I never mocked you for it. Silence. The piano filled what neither of them could. Claire looked toward the rain-darkened windows, then reached in her handbag and removed a sleek black credit card. Fine, she said. At least let me take care of dinner. Ethan glanced at the card. We haven't ordered dinner. Then the drinks. You're parking. Whatever. I can pay for myself. Ethan, please. This amount means nothing to me. He looked at her for a long moment. That's exactly why I'd rather pay my share. Claire signaled the server anyway. Put everything on mine. Ethan took 2 $20 bills from his wallet and placed them beneath his coffee cup. That should cover mine and the tip. Claire stared at the money. Are you trying to make some kind of statement? No. Ethan stood and buttoned his jacket. I'm trying to go pick up my daughter. You're walking away because I offered to pay? I'm walking away because somewhere between your standards and my bank account, We forgot this was supposed to be about two people. Claire's expression changed, but Ethan continued before she could answer. I respect what you've accomplished. I mean that. But I don't want Lily growing up believing dignity belongs to whoever has the biggest number on a paycheck. He pushed his chair beneath the table. Thank you for meeting me, Claire. There was no anger, no insult, no attempt to wound her back. Somehow, that made his departure heavier. Ethan turned toward the entrance. Then the glass doors opened. Cool, rain-scented air swept into the restaurant as an older woman stepped inside beside a little girl wearing a yellow raincoat and carrying a tiny paper gift bag against her chest. Lily spotted Ethan instantly. Daddy! Her face lit up. Ethan's entire posture softened as she hurried across the lobby and wrapped both arms around him. Claire watched from the table, motionless. Lily whispered something in her father's coat, then looked past him. Her eyes found Claire. The girl froze. She glanced at the woman in the gray suit, then down at the gift bag she had been protecting from the rain. Dad, she whispered, suddenly nervous. Is that her? Ethan hesitated. Lily did not. She stepped around him and walked toward Claire, holding the little bag with both hands. Hi, she said. I'm Lily. I made something for you because ... Writing variant equals document ID equals 39516, title equals part 5. Claire looked at the little paper bag as though Lily had placed something far heavier on the table. You made something for me? She asked. Lily nodded, rain still shining on the shoulders of her yellow coat. Daddy said homemade things count more, because you have to spend time instead of money. Ethan closed his eyes briefly. Lily, what? She looked up at him. You say that all the time. Mrs. Parker stood near the entrance, giving Ethan an apologetic smile. Her enthusiasm survived the entire ride downtown. Apparently, Ethan murmured. Lily turned back to Claire and held out the bag. Claire hesitated before accepting it. Tissue paper rustled softly beneath her fingers. Inside was a bracelet made from blue and white beads, unevenly spaced around a simple elastic cord. At the center were two small silver-colored letter beads. Claire turned them toward the light. Et c'est seconde chance, Lily explained. Claire became still. Why second chances? Because Daddy says everybody needs one. Ethan's expression changed. Sweetheart, we should go. Did I do something wrong? No, then she can keep it, right? Claire looked from Lily to Ethan. I'd like to keep it. Lily smiled with such immediate relief that Claire had to look down. She slipped the bracelet carefully over her wrist beside a watch worth more than Ethan probably earned in months. For once, the expensive thing looked strangely unimportant. Daddy was nervous about tonight, Lily said. He was very. Lily. He changed shirts 3 times. Claire almost smiled. Ethan rubbed his forehead. This conversation has become surprisingly detailed. Lily giggled. He even cleaned the truck. Claire's smile disappeared. She remembered her comment about the rust. Ethan noticed. He said nothing. That silence was worse than accusation. Lily leaned closer to Claire. Did you have fun? Claire opened her mouth, but no answer came. We were just getting to know each other. Ethan said gently. Oh, Lily considered that. Did Daddy tell you his terrible joke about thermostats? Not yet. Good. That means you can still like him. Claire laughed before she could stop herself. It was small and genuine, unlike the polished laugh she used at charity dinners. Lily grinned triumphantly. Ethan looked at his daughter with the exhausted affection of a man accustomed to losing arguments to 8-year-old logic. Then Lily noticed the cash beside Ethan's coffee. You didn't eat? Plans changed. But you skipped lunch. Claire looked sharply at Ethan. You skipped lunch. Busy day. Lily frowned. You said you weren't hungry because you were saving for tonight. Lily. Ethan's voice remained gentle, but firmer now. She lowered her eyes. Saw the... Claire stared at the two $20 bills. Suddenly, they no longer looked like stubborn pride. They looked like ours. Choices. Sacrifice. You save for this dinner? She asked. It doesn't matter. It matters if I spent the evening making jokes about what you could afford. Ethan's eyes met hers. There it was. No anger. Just truth. Claire, you don't owe me anything. I think I owe you an apology. Lily looked between them, confused. Why? Neither adult answered. The restaurant seemed quieter now, the piano softer, the rain gentler against the windows. Lily reached for Ethan's hand. Daddy says apologies are brave when you mean them. Claire looked down at the bracelet. Seconde chance. Two childish words sitting beside polished steel and corporate success. Your dad sounds very wise. Lily shook her head seriously. No, he just learned a lot after Mom went to heaven. Ethan's breath caught. Come on, sweetheart. But Lily looked at Claire with complete innocence. He gave up his dream job because I couldn't sleep without him. Did he tell you that part? Claire slowly turned toward Ethan. You said it was a promotion. Lily squeezed her father's hand. It wasn't just a promotion. Uncle Matt said Daddy was supposed to become an engineer and design buildings instead of fixing them. Ethan went completely still. C. : Writing variant equals document. ID equals 52743. Title equals Part 6. Ethan looked at Lily, not with anger, but with the gentle resignation of a father realizing that an 8-year-old had just opened a door he had spent years keeping closed. It wasn't important, he said. Claire leaned forward. You keep saying that about things that sound very important. Because they're in the past. Lily tugged lightly on Ethan's hand. Daddy, you said the past matters if it teaches you something. Ethan gave her a tired smile. I really need to stop teaching you phrases you can use against me. Lily smiled, but Claire did not. Her eyes remained fixed on him. What was the job? Ethan glanced toward Mrs. Parker, who understood immediately. I'll get Lily some hot chocolate, she said, guiding the girl toward the nearby counter. Extra marshmallows? Lily asked. As many as your father will forgive me for. When they were several feet away, Ethan sat again, though his jacket remained buttoned. Claire waited. I study mechanical engineering, he said finally. Night classes mostly. Took me longer than everyone else because I was working full-time. Claire's expression sharpened with surprise. You have an engineering degree? Yes. And you're doing commercial maintenance? I like the work. That wasn't my question. Ethan looked down at his hands. After graduation, a design firm in Milwaukee offered me a junior engineering position. Good salary, real advancement. Eventually, I could have moved into systems design. The dream job Lily mentioned. Something close to it. And you turned it down because of her? Ethan's gaze moved toward Lily, who was laughing as Mrs. Parker tried to stop marshmallows from spilling over the rim of a paper cup. Her mother, Rachel, had been gone 7 months. Lily was 4. She'd wake up at 2 in the morning and walk through the house, checking every room. Claire's voice softened. Looking for you? Making sure I was still there. Ethan swallowed. The Milwaukee position required travel. 3 weeks a month. Everyone told me children adjust. Maybe they do. But one night Lily fell asleep sitting outside the bathroom because I was inside and she was afraid I'd disappear if she couldn't hear me. Claire lowered her eyes. So you declined. The next morning, without hesitation, plenty of hesitation, just no regret. The words settled between them. Claire glanced at her watch, then at the handmade bracelet beside it. She had spent her entire adult life measuring sacrifice by what it produced. Missed holidays produced promotions. Lost relationships produced expansion. Sleepless nights produced acquisitions. Ethan had sacrificed something enormous and had nothing impressive to display for it, except a little girl drinking hot chocolate 15 feet away. Yet Lily looked secure, happy, loved. Perhaps that was the achievement Claire had failed to recognize. You could go back, she said. Maybe someday. I know people, engineering firms, executives. I can make one phone call. Ethan's expression changed immediately. No, I'm trying to help. I know. Then why refuse? Because you met me 2 hours ago. That doesn't mean I can't open a door. Claire. His voice was gentle. I don't want your charity. Her face tightened. It wouldn't be charity. Then what would it be? She had no answer. Lily returned, carrying her cocoa with both hands. Mrs. Parker says it's cooling down. Ethan smiled. Good. Lily looked at Claire. Are you sad? Claire blinked. No, you look sad. I'm thinking. Lily climbed onto the empty chair from her drawing, suddenly completing the picture without realizing it. About Daddy? Claire glanced at Ethan. Yes. Lily took a careful sip. Did he make you feel respected? The question was so simple that Claire almost smiled. Then Lily added, he says everybody deserves that, even when they don't have much. Claire's smile vanished. Ethan quietly said, Lily, sweetheart. But Lily was already looking at Claire with open, trusting eyes. Did you make Daddy feel respected too? The piano continued playing. Glasses touched tables. Rain whispered against the windows. Yet for Claire Whitmore, the entire restaurant seemed to fall SI. : Writing variant equals document ID equals 68341, title equals part 7. Claire looked at Lily and discovered that 8-year-old innocence could ask questions no board member had ever dared to put before her. Did you make Daddy feel respected too? Lily repeated. Ethan rested a hand gently on his daughter's shoulder. Sweetheart, Claire doesn't have to answer that. Why not? Because grown-up conversations can be complicated. Lily considered this, then looked back at Claire. Respect isn't complicated. Claire lowered her eyes. Around her wrist, the handmade bracelet rested beside polished steel and sapphire glass. Seconde chance. An hour earlier, she might have dismissed those beads as something sweet and childish. Now, they felt like a verdict delivered without cruelty. No, Claire said quietly. Ethan looked at her. No what? Lily asked. Claire took a breath. No, I don't think I made your dad feel respected tonight. Lily's brow furrowed. Did he do something bad? No, was he rude? No, then why? Claire had negotiated hostile acquisitions without allowing her voice to shake, but this answer required something harder than confidence. It required honesty, because I decided what kind of man he was before I knew him. Lily glanced at Ethan. Because we don't have lots of money? Ethan started to intervene, but Claire answered first. Yes, partly because of that. Lily became quiet, not angry, just disappointed. Somehow that hurt more. Claire turned to Ethan. I mock your truck. I talked down about your work. I treated your responsibilities as inconveniences. Ethan said nothing, and when you didn't react, I assumed you lacked ambition. Her voice softened. I was wrong. Ethan's expression remained guarded. You don't need to do this because Lily asked. I'm not. Claire glanced toward the two $20 bills still beneath his coffee cup. I'm doing it because she made me hear myself. Lily slowly pushed her hot chocolate toward Ethan. You can have some, Daddy. Ethan smiled. I'm okay. You skipped lunch. I'll eat at home. Claire looked at him. Why did you skip lunch? Ethan sighed. We already covered this. No. Lily said you were saving for tonight. Bellamy's isn't exactly where I usually eat. But why agree to come here? Ethan glanced toward Lily. Because I wanted to show up properly. Claire looked around at the white tablecloths, crystal glasses, and soft amber lighting. She had chosen Bellamy's without thinking. To her, it was convenient. To Ethan, it had required planning. How long did you save? She asked. Claire, please. He hesitated. A few weeks. Lily corrected him immediately. 5. Ethan gave her a look. You are becoming a remarkably unreliable keeper of family secrets. Lily smiled. Claire did not. 5 weeks for one dinner. I had other bills. And you still came. I gave my word. Claire's eyes moved toward his weathered hands. Earlier, she had seen calluses and decided they represented limitation. Now she saw the hands of a man who worked, paid bills, packed lunches, repaired broken systems, sat beside a frightened child at 2 in the morning, and still found enough hope to iron a shirt for a blind date. I thought success meant never needing anyone, Claire whispered. Ethan studied her. Maybe success is knowing who's worth being needed by. Lily looked between them, then reached in her raincoat pocket. I have something else. Ethan frowned. Another surprise? Lily pulled out a small photograph, slightly bent at one corner. It showed Ethan years earlier in a graduation gown, Rachel beside him, and 4-year-old Lily sitting proudly on his shoulders. Claire noticed the engineering diploma in Ethan's hand. On the back, in faded blue ink, Rachel had written a sentence. Lily handed it to Claire. Mom wrote that before she got sick. Claire turned the photograph over and read silently. Ethan will build incredible things someday, but the greatest thing he will ever build is a home where our daughter always feels safe. Claire's eyes filled, but she blinked the emotion back. Lily leaned closer. Daddy thinks he gave up his dream for me. She smiled at Ethan. But Mom said I was part of it. Claire looked at the man she had measured by a rusty truck and a modest paycheck, and something inside her finally broke open. Then Lily asked the question that changed the direction of the entire night. Miss Claire, : writing variant equals document, ID equals 74632, title equals Part 8. Claire held Lily's photograph carefully between both hands. For several seconds, she did not answer. The question was simple enough for a child, but Claire understood what it was really asking. Not whether she wanted another dinner, whether she could enter someone else's life without ranking it first. Yes, Claire finally said. If your dad gave me another chance, I would do it differently. Lily looked pleased, but Ethan remained quiet. Sweetheart, he said, second chances aren't something we ask other people to give us. Claire nodded slowly. He's right. She handed the photograph back to Lily. They have to decide whether we've earned them. Ethan's eyes met hers. Something had changed in Claire's voice. The sharp certainty was gone. No executive polish. No practiced authority. Just humility. I owe you a real apology, she said. Ethan glanced around the restaurant. You already apologized. Not completely. Claire stood. Nearby conversations softened as several diners noticed the woman in the expensive gray suit facing the man she had openly dismissed less than an hour earlier. Claire noticed them too. This time, she did not lower her voice. I judged you by your clothes, your truck, your job, and your bank account before I knew anything about your character. I treated your daughter like a complication before I understood what she meant to you. And I offered money when what I should have offered was respect. Ethan remained still. Claire swallowed. I am sorry. Lily looked at her father. Ethan did not rush to rescue Claire from the discomfort. He had spent years teaching Lily that apologies mattered because they required truth. It would have been dishonest to pretend words erased everything immediately. Thank you, he said at last. Claire nodded, accepting the distance in his answer. Mrs. Parker watched quietly from several feet away. Lily climbed down from the chair and stood between the two adults, holding her cocoa. Are you still mad, Daddy? I wasn't mad. You got your quiet face. Claire almost smiled. He has a quiet face. 3 of them. Ethan sighed. Apparently, I have been extensively studied. Lily counted on her fingers. Thinking quiet, tired quiet, and hurt quiet. Claire's smile faded. Which one was tonight? Lily looked at Ethan, then back at Claire. Hurt quiet. Ethan crouched beside his daughter. Hey, that's enough analyzing your father for one evening. Lily whispered, but I'm right. Ethan kissed the top of her head. That's what makes it dangerous. Claire looked away for a moment. She had always believed power was the ability to control a room. Ethan had controlled nothing tonight. He had not demanded an apology, displayed his degree, defended his sacrifices, or tried to embarrass her in return. Yet his restraint had revealed more strength than every executive she knew who needed the final word. Can I ask you something? Claire said. Ethan stood. Sure. When I mocked your work, why didn't you tell me about your engineering degree? Because respect that depends on a credential isn't respect. The answer landed quietly. And the job you gave up? Same reason. You could have made me feel very small. Ethan looked at Lily. What would that have taught her? Claire followed his gaze. There it was, the center of everything. Ethan's dignity was not passivity. It was fatherhood practiced in real time. Every response, every silence, every choice had an 8-year-old audience somewhere in his mind. Lily suddenly reached for Claire's hand. Claire looked down, surprised. Mom used to say people can have bad days without being bad people, Lily said. Maybe you had a bad day. Claire's throat tightened. Maybe I've had more than one. Then you might need more second chances. A quiet laugh escaped Ethan. Claire looked at the bracelet again. I think I might. Lily released her hand and turned toward her father. Can we eat now? I am starving. Ethan checked his wallet. Claire saw the movement and understood immediately. There's a diner near your place, isn't there? She asked. Maggie's. Why? Claire picked up her coat. Because I don't want to buy you an expensive dinner. Ethan raised an eyebrow. That may be the strangest thing anyone has said to me tonight. I want to buy my own grilled cheese, sit somewhere without crystal glasses, and start over. Lily's eyes brightened. Maggie's is pie. Claire smiled. Then pie too. Ethan studied her for a long moment. This isn't another date. No. And you're not fixing anything tonight. I know that too. He looked at Lily, who was silently pleading with both hands clasped beneath her chin. Finally, Ethan shook his head with a reluctant smile. One slice of pie. For each of us. Lily asked. We'll negotiate. They started toward the doors, but Claire stopped beside the table and removed the black credit card she had given the server. She replaced it with cash for her own drink and a generous tip, leaving Ethan's $40 untouched. When she caught up, Lily noticed the handmade bracelet still around Claire's wrist. You're really keeping it? Claire looked down at the two small letters. Yes. Then she looked at Ethan. If I ever forget what it means, I hope someone reminds me. Lily slipped one hand into her father's and the other into Claire's. Ethan looked down in surprise, but Lily simply smiled and guided them toward the rain-washed Chicago night. For the first time, Claire understood that the little girl between them had not merely interrupted a failed blind date. She had changed a measure by which, writing variant equals document ID equals 91847, title equals Part 9. Maggie's Diner sat 3 miles west of downtown, glowing beneath a red neon sign that flickered whenever the rain grew heavy. By the time Ethan parked his silver Ford beneath the awning, Lily was already talking about apple pie. Claire had stopped checking her phone, and the evening no longer felt like something anyone had planned. Inside, the air smelled of coffee, butter, and warm cinnamon. No cristal glasses. No taler de expectations. Just red vinyl booths, chrome napkin holders, and an old jukebox humming softly near the counter. Lily slid into the booth first. Ethan sat beside her. Claire took the opposite seat and smiled when the waitress handed her a laminated menu with a cracked corner. Welcome to my world, Ethan said. I think I prefer the lighting. Wait until you see the coffee. That sounded like a warning. Lily giggled. They ordered grilled cheese, tomato soup, and 3 slices of pie because Lily proved unexpectedly effective at negotiation. For the next hour, Claire did something she rarely allowed herself to do. She listened. Lily told her about 3rd grade, her science project, Mrs. Parker's cat, and Ethan's inability to braid hair evenly. Ethan protested exactly twice before surrendering. Claire told Lily that she had once failed a college economics class because she thought being smart meant she never needed help. What happened? Lily asked. I took again and passed. Barely. Lily nodded seriously. Second chance. Claire looked at the bracelet around her wrist. Exactly. Across the table, Ethan smiled. It was not forgiveness yet, but it was warmer than distance. When Lily eventually rested her head against Ethan's shoulder, Claire lowered her voice. I meant what I said earlier. I know. I don't expect tonight to erase what happened. Ethan stirred his coffee. Good. Because it doesn't. Claire accepted that without flinching. Then maybe I could earn another dinner someday. Somewhere cheaper. Much cheaper. No assistance choosing the restaurant. Absolutely no assistance. Ethan looked at Lily, already half asleep against him. And no judging the truck. Claire smiled. I make no promises about the rust. Ethan laughed, and this time the sound held no tension. 2 weeks later, Claire met them at Maggie's again. 3 weeks after that, she attended Lily's school science fair and spent 40 minutes helping rebuild a cardboard bridge after the glue failed. Months passed without grand gestures. Claire never offered Ethan a job again. Ethan never asked her to become less ambitious. They simply learned each other slowly. Claire learned that Ethan took his coffee black, hated being late, and still spoke to Rachel's photograph on difficult anniversaries. Ethan learned that Claire called her mother every Sunday, secretly loved old country songs, and had built her company partly because growing up poor had left her terrified of ever being powerless again. Understanding did not excuse the woman she had been at Bellamy's. It explained why she had mistaken wealth for safety and status for worth. A year after their first meeting, Claire stood outside Maggie's beneath the same red neon sign, while Lily adjusted the blue and white bracelet still around. Her wrist, the elastic had stretched. Several beads were scratched. Claire had refused to replace it. You know, Ethan said, You can afford a better bracelet. Claire looked at him. Not one worth more. Lily smiled between them. Ethan reached for Claire's hand. Not because she was a CEO, not because she had changed his circumstances, and not because a child had magically repaired two complicated adults. He reached because Claire had done the quiet work of becoming kinder. She had listened. She had apologized. She had returned without demanding forgiveness. And Ethan, who had spent years teaching his daughter about grace, finally allowed himself to receive some too. Lily slipped her hands into theirs as they walked toward the diner. "So was I right?" she asked. "About what?" Ethan said, "that something good could begin." Claire looked at Ethan. He looked at Lily. Then he smiled. "Yeah, kiddo, you were right." The door opened, spilling warm light across the sidewalk. No applause followed them inside. No room needed to know what had changed. Some victories arrive quietly. Some people discover dignity only after they have failed to give it. And sometimes a second cha,